Bitcoin multisig. Many call the 2 of 3 multisig the gold standard for self-custody, and others would say it's unnecessary and overly complex. There is truth to both sides of this, however, and in this video I aim to break it down to you simply, that way you understand the practical differences between multisig and single-sig wallets, giving you all the tools you need to decide if multisig is right for you. Then, at the end of this video, we will have a demonstration where I'll show you how to create a 2 of 3 multisig in Sparrow wallet using 2 software wallets and 1 hardware wallet, so stick around to the end to see that. There's going to be timestamps in the description, so if you want to skip to the end, you can go ahead and do that. But that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So what is multisig? Multisig stands for multiple signatures, and it's a policy type that we assign to Bitcoin wallets that defines how signers come together to move Bitcoin. We say a wallet requires M of N signatures, meaning out of N wallets, it's required that we have signatures from M of them to be able to move funds. One of the most common multisig setups is the 2 of 3 multisig, where out of 3 signers, it requires signatures from 2 of them. So how does it work? To understand how a multisig works, we first need to understand the differences between a wallet and a signer. A wallet consists of a various number of signers based on the chosen wallet policy type, and a signer is really just the private key. If you already have a Bitcoin wallet, chances are it's a single sig. In a single sig, it's very common to think of the signer and the wallet as one unit, but in reality, a wallet consists of signers. Here I have a drawing depicting the differences. The white border is the wallet. As you can see, the single sig has only 1 signer, and the multisig has 3 of them. Since this is a 2 of 3 multisig, we would require signatures from any of the 2 signers in order to move funds from this wallet. So just to recap one more time, in the multisig, all 3 of these signers, all 3 of these cold cards would consist of 1 wallet. As you can probably tell by now, there are some key benefits to having your Bitcoin in a multisig. One is geographic distribution. So let's imagine you have 3 houses, and let's imagine that you have 1 signer in each of these houses. In this event, 1 house can totally burn down, and you would still have your other 2 signers, meaning you'd still be able to move your funds. On the same vein, let's imagine you have the same setup, you have a geographic distribution of your keys, and someone comes to your house with a gun demanding your Bitcoin. If you only have 1 signer at your home, they would not be able to move your Bitcoin, even if you wanted to help them. They will need to get their hands on one of the other signers in order to do that. So in that way, you are protected from bad actors. Another good use case for multisig is inheritance planning. So let's say you want to give your stash down to your beneficiaries one day, and you don't want to go through a bank, and you don't want to pay that inheritance tax, and you don't want to do all that ugly stuff. I don't advocate for skipping out on taxes or anything like that, but what I'm saying is your Bitcoin is your Bitcoin, and you should be able to decide what you want to do with it. By having your Bitcoin in a 2 of 3 multisig, while you're still alive, you can have control of 2 of these signers. You can give the 3rd signer to a trusted third party. So in the event that you pass away, your family will just need to have one of your signing keys, and they'll need to work with a trusted third party that you set up with them in order to get that next key that's required to move your funds and be able to execute your will. So as you know, there is no such thing as a free lunch, and with all these benefits, there are some drawbacks to multisig. One of which is the added complexity. So setting up the multisig is a little bit complex. It's not too hard. We're going to have a demo very, very soon. But one of the things that might keep you up at night is the idea of recovery of these multisigs. So I've read online stories of people that had a 2 of 3 multisig setup where, let's say they had 3 locations, and at each location they had their, let's say they had their wallet, but then they also had the 12 or 24 words belonging to that wallet at that location. So it all sounds pretty good. However, if one house totally burns down, and you don't have your wallet descriptor defining your multisig, then there'd be no way to recover the xpub of the missing wallet, which basically renders the 2 remaining signers that you have totally useless. This is why it's important, if you're doing multisig, to know what you're doing and to make sure you have a recovery plan in place, because it'd be a real shame to think you're doing everything right, setting up a multisig, thinking you're really safe, just for the worst to happen, and you realize, hey, I have 2 signers left. However, I don't have my wallet descriptor, and I've lost all my Bitcoin, right? So that's a massive downside, and something that you need to really take into account if you're going to be setting up a multisig is recovery. And on the lower end of these drawbacks is the higher transaction fees. So as we mentioned in one of my older videos, I think it was the how to use the cold card with Sparrow video in an air gap manner. I talk about how transaction fees work and how the fee is calculated. But it's based on the data going in. So when you have 3 signers here, you inevitably are going to have more data going into the transaction, and this is going to result in higher transaction fees. These are pretty negligible, but it's still a drawback nonetheless. So now that you have a solid baseline understanding of multisig, we're going to be jumping into the Sparrow demo, where I'm going to be showing you how to set up a 2 of 3 multisig using 2 software wallets and 1 hardware wallet. But before we do that, if you like this content and you like what I do here, please drop a like, a subscribe, and let me know what you'd like to see next. Now, on to the demo. Okay, so it's time to jump into the demo, but there's a few things to note. I just want to reiterate one last time that when you set up a multisig, it's important that we test it before we send real funds to it, because it can be kind of complicated and we don't want to be sending our money to a black hole. That is no fun. So anyways, the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get all of the properly derived xpubs from all of our devices that we intend to sign with. So we intend to sign from our Coldcard and from 2 different software wallets. And when I say properly derived xpubs, I mean the xpubs that are associated with our seed phrase that belong to the proper multisig derivation path that I have right here. The best way to do this is through Sparrow. After we have our properly derived xpubs, we're going to be using all of these xpubs to create our multisig wallet. Our multisig wallet that we're going to create with just the xpubs, they're going to be read-only wallets, because what we plan to do with that is it's going to be a temp wallet that we plan to export and move to all of our signing devices. Each signing device is going to have their respective signing key. The idea is that no single device has all the keys. If they did, then you'd be basically ruining the whole purpose of having a multisig. You might as well have a single sig at that point. So after we export the multisig wallet to all the devices, then we're going to set up the seed, the actual seed for that respective device. So that's pretty much that. Let's go ahead and get right into it by getting all of the properly derived xpubs. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to get the software wallet xpub. So I'm just going to click new wallet, and I'm going to say temp delete this. And I'm really just not going to save this wallet, because we're just going to use this to get the xpubs at the proper derivation path. So I'm going to click create wallet. And then at the top here on the policy type, I'm going to click multi-signature. Since we're just using this to get the proper xpubs, we're going to move the cosigners down to just 1 of 1, when our final wallet is going to be of 2 of 3, but we're just getting our xpubs, if I haven't said that enough times yet. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to create 2 new software wallets that I'm going to be using for my 2 software wallets in this demo. So I'm going to click new or imported software wallet. I'm going to use 12 words. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to generate a new 12-word mnemonic right here. I'm going to go ahead and just take a screenshot of this and save it, but you don't want to do that with your wallet. You're going to want to write that down and save it somewhere safe. And you don't want anyone to see it either. I'm just going to share it here because I'm not going to use this wallet and it's going to be empty by the time this video goes up. So let's go ahead and let's just save this. I'm going to name this, I'm going to name it software 1. That way I can look at it here and I can use it to just confirm my backup really quickly. As you can see, the default derivation path that was set is the one that I had written down here in my notes here. This is the multisig derivation path, and this was the whole point of setting the the 1 of 1 multisig for in Sparrows. This so we can have this pre-fill for us. So I'm going to go ahead and import this key store, and as you can tell here, we have our xpub that belongs to the proper derivation path belonging to that seed that we just wrote down. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring over my notes, and I'm going to just copy over some of this information. So software wallet 1, I'm going to copy over the master fingerprint just so I can make a mental map of it. And then I'm going to copy the xpub because this is what we came to get, right? So now we have the xpub for software wallet 1. Let's go ahead and let's do the same thing for software wallet 2. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to replace this because remember, this is a temp wallet that we're just using to get our xpubs from. And we're going to create our second wallet now, our second software wallet. So I'm going to do the same process here, just generate a new wallet and screenshot it just for my demonstration here. We're going to call it software 2. And I'm going to open this on the side on my other monitor and finish setting this up. Cool. So now, as you can see here, we have the derivation path set properly on this wallet. And now you can see that the xpub has changed because we basically loaded in a new wallet. So same thing here. I'm going to copy the xpub and I'm going to save it under software wallet number 2. And I'm also going to save the master fingerprint just for just to have it, just for completeness. Good. Now we need to get our xpub belonging to our Coldcard. So let's go ahead and do that. So here we are with the Coldcard. The first thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to put in a micro SD card. That way we can export the file to the SD card when it's time. So let's go ahead and pop this into the Coldcard and get her powered on. So now that we're logged in, we need to make sure that we export the proper xpub from the Coldcard as well. You can't just export the basic xpub from here or else you'll run into some issues. So what we got to do here with the Coldcard is we're going to scroll down to settings. We're going to scroll down to multisig wallets and we're going to export the xpub. Once again, make sure your SD card is plugged in because that's where it's going to be getting saved to. So it's just telling us what's happening. It's telling us that it's going to be, the proper xpub along the proper derivation path. And we're going to say, okay. It's going to say, what account do you want to export? And we're going to want to export account number 0. That's like the default. So you should be using 0 unless you have a reason to not be using it. So I'm going to go ahead and click 0 and then press enter. And now we have the xpub written to our SD card. So let's go ahead and let's just take it out and pop it into the computer. Okay, so with the micro SD card mounted into the computer containing the xpub from the Coldcard, we need to do the same thing and we need to load it in and we need to make it available here. That way we can copy it and paste it on our notes. So I'm going to go ahead and click replace again. I'm going to replace it with an air-gapped hardware wallet this time. And we're going to click the Coldcard multisig option here. I'm going to click import file, open my SD card, and I'm going to click the JSON that we just exported right now. I don't know why the date is messed up, but well, actually, I think I do. I think it's because the Coldcard doesn't really keep track of the date. So this is it right here, though. And it's just giving us a warning saying that the software wallet that we just had here is going to get erased. And that is okay because we took a screenshot and you should have written it down. So that's okay. So now that we're here, we have the xpub for the Coldcard that we're looking for. Let's go ahead and copy this guy and bring it over to our notes. So good. Now it looks like we have all the xpubs that we wanted to create our multisig with. So what we're going to do next is we're going to create a read-only wallet using all these xpubs. And once we have this wallet, we're going to export it to all of our devices, meaning the Coldcard. And then we're going to just mock multiple devices on this one computer by having multiple software wallets with the differing seeds loaded into them. Remember, the idea is that each device only has one seed on it. You want to make sure that you don't have one device that has all the seeds on it because that totally kills the whole purpose. Continuing on, let's go ahead and complete this read-only multisig wallet the proper way now. So we don't need this temp delete this wallet anymore. This was just used to gather the xpubs. We can go ahead and just press the X. We're not going to need it. Now we're going to create the real thing. We're going to call this multisig demo read only. And I'm going to create the wallet. Now we're going to go ahead and click the multisig type, and this is going to be the 2 of 3 type. This is going to be the real wallet that we're going to be using now, but it's just not going to have any of the actual signers, but it's going to have the multisig wallet structure in place. So let's do it. Let's go ahead and create this read-only wallet. So for key store 1, I'm going to use a read-only wallet or a watch-only wallet with the xpub. So I'm going back to my notes here, and I'm going to go in this order. It's going to be key store 1, key store 2, and key store 3. So I'm going to grab the first one. First, I'm going to take the fingerprint, and I'm going to paste it here at the top, which you don't really need to have the fingerprint on the read-only wallet, but I copied it, so I'm going to put it there anyways. And let's get the xpub and paste it in. Let's go ahead and do the same for key store 2. Click the xpub, key store 2. I'm going to take the fingerprint and the xpub. And finally, we need key store 3, which is going to be the same exact method. Oops. So this looks good to me. We now have everything in place. We have our 2 of 3 multisig. It's the multisig policy type. Key store 1 is our first xpub. We could just make sure it starts in xpub and ends in SAU. Xpub SAU. Second one is xpub LU6S. Second one is xpub LU6S. And the third one is xpub DYBQ. And the third one is DYBQ. So this looks like it's been set up properly for the read-only wallets. So now I'm going to go ahead and, well, actually, let's set some labels here. I'm going to call this software 1. That way we know. Key store 2 is going to be software 2. And then key store 3 is going to be the Coldcard. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply now. And I'm going to leave no password for this wallet because this is just my demo wallet. This is just letting you know that if you don't have all the xpubs of all the wallets, then you will not be able to move your funds, even if you have 2 of the seeds. So make sure you save this, or make sure you save the xpub somewhere safe. I'm not going to save this because I wrote them all down here in this file, but it'd be a good idea for you to save this if you're following this guide. So I'm just going to click close, and it looks like we saved this properly already. So that's a great checkpoint. The next thing that we got to do is we got to export this read-only wallet. That way we can copy it into our various devices, and then we can set up our seed properly on those respective devices. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create 2 exports. The first export is going to be for the multisig. And I'm just going to keep this in my home directory. I'm going to call it multisig demo. And then in here, this is the multisig demo read-only Coldcard. I'm going to save that. And I'm going to create something very similar, or I'm going to export it one more time, but this export is going to be for the Sparrow wallet. So I'm going to click the Sparrow wallet here, and I'm going to save it in the same place for now, but I'm going to call this multisig demo read-only Sparrow. But instead, actually, I'm going to, I'll save it as that. Then from here, I'm going to basically just change them just to basically fake different devices. So I'm going to call this multisig read-only Sparrow. I'm going to call it signer 1. And I'm going to create the same exact thing, and I'm going to call this signer 2. So that's how we're going to fake it being on different devices. So now we're going to pretend like we're setting up an individual device, and each device is only going to have just their one signer. So let's go ahead and let's open up that new export that we just saved, which is going to be, I'm going to do signer 1 first. So this is signer 1. This is going to be an exact copy of the multisig demo read-only. So if we go to settings, you'll see that it's an exact copy of it. But what we're going to do with signer 1 is we actually want to have a real key store here instead of a read-only key store for software 1, because we're pretending that this computer is holding this private key. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to import the software wallet. And this was software wallet 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my 12 words I have right here from software wallet 1. and I'm going to go ahead and put them all in. And what we're doing in this case is we're basically just, we're giving it the seed that it needs to actually sign. But we're only giving it this one seed. And if we look closely here, you can look at this xpub here that we have, and well, it's kind of hard to see like this, but it's not going to change when we create this key store. So I'm going to go ahead and import key store, and you'll see that it did not change at all. The only difference that we have now is now this is no longer just a regular read-only. Now we have an actual signing method with this wallet. So we can imagine that this is on one computer. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do this. We're going to go ahead and we're going to do this again with the signer 2. And in this way, we're going to mock 2 different devices, right? So let's go back to signer 2. This guy, I think. Yeah, this guy. And once again, this is also a clone, but you'll see that the software wallet 1 is still watch only because we cloned it from the read only version. But what we're going to do here is we're going to replace software wallet 2 with the actual wallet that has a seed on it. So we're going to go ahead and do the same exact thing. I'm going to take the 12 words and I'm going to put them in. A quick tip for you guys is the first 4 words of all, or the first 4 letters of all of these words are unique. So you'll notice that like some steel plates only have room for 4 letters. That's because the first 4 letters are all unique. Comment below if you knew that already or if you didn't. So I'm going to create the key store, and you'll also see that this xpub doesn't change. Just pay attention to it. Nothing changed. The only difference now is we have a actual signer on our key store 2 here. So I'm going to go ahead and click apply. Same thing, no password. And in this way, we're going to pretend like, this is one computer, this is another computer, and our Coldcard is going to be the 3rd device. So let's go ahead and import this multisig export into our Coldcard. That way our Coldcard knows how to properly sign things. So to get the multisig wallet file, so to get the multisig wallet definition into our Coldcard, we need to first save it into our micro SD. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is my micro SD. I'm going to go ahead and just delete what I have in there. And then I'm going to find the export that we created earlier for the Coldcard. And that's this guy right here. So I'm going to take this guy and move him over to the micro SD. And let's go ahead and put this micro SD into our Coldcard and import it. So I'm going to scroll down to settings, click multisig wallets, and I'm going to import from file. And that's it, multisig demo. So in the same way, like our Coldcard knows of the 2 software wallets and it knows their xpubs, but it only has the seed for the Coldcard. The software wallets are set up in a very same way where they only have their own seed and they know of the other xpubs, but they don't have the signers for them. So here we're just going to verify everything looks good. It says it's the 2 of 3, yada, yada, yada. Everything looks good. Okay. And now we have our multisig definition saved to our Coldcard here. So now the next thing that we need to do is we need to just test. So we're going to send a test amount of Bitcoin to our multisig, and then we're going to try sending it out by first signing it with the 2 software wallets, and then we're going to try one more test transaction by signing it with 1 software wallet and then the Coldcard. And then at that point, we'll feel confident to be able to send more funds to the wallet knowing that we set everything up properly. So let's go ahead and send some funds in. Okay, so I sent 10,000 sats to this multisig that we just created. You can see it here in the multisig demo with the first signer attached, and it's also here with the second signer because these are the same wallet. Each one just has a different signer attached to it. So let's go ahead and let's stage a transaction. I'm going to do this with signer 1. So I'm going to click send, and I'm going to pay another wallet that I have, and I'm going to say test test 2 software wallets. And I'm going to send 3,000 sats. And I'm going to create the transaction. And I'm going to finalize it for signing. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to sign this transaction with the first signer here, right? So now that I signed it, you'll see that we have 1 of 2. So now that I signed it, I'm going to save this signed transaction. And that's what the .psbt is. The .psbt stands for partially signed Bitcoin transaction. So I'm going to save this partially signed transaction to this folder that I created earlier. And then what I'm going to do from signer number 2 is I'm going to load the transaction. So if I go, I'm going to go ahead and just close signer 1. From signer 2, I'm going to file open transaction. I'm going to find the one that we just did. And then I'm going to sign it with signer 2, right? That's what we have open right now. So I'm going to go ahead and sign it. And now we signed it with our signer 2. So now I can go ahead and broadcast the transaction, and you'll see the network is accepting it. So that's how we did it. We signed it with both our software wallets, and the network accepted it. So let's try it one more time, but let's do this last one with one software wallet sign and then one with the Coldcard. So let's stage one more transaction. This time we're going to use signer 2 and the Coldcard. So I'm going to go back to send. So I'm going to go back to send, and I'm going to pay my software general purpose wallet again. And I'm going to say test with software 2 and Coldcard. And we're going to send the rest of my Bitcoin, which is just another, 6,000 sats. Same thing. We're going to create the transaction. We're going to sign it with our Multisig 2, because that's the only one that we have open right now. We're going to sign the transaction, and we have 1 signature. Good, good, good. And now we're going to save it. And this one that we're going to save it to the micro SD card because we need to give it to the Coldcard for signing. So I'm going to put the micro SD card back into the computer again. Let's open it up. And then we're going to save, and then we're going to save this transaction to the micro SD card. It's the only .psbt file in here. So we're going to save it. And then now we got to move it over to the Coldcard. So let's go ahead and start that process. I got to go ahead and sign in over again. One sec. Okay, so now our Coldcard is starting up, and we have our partially signed Bitcoin transaction already on this micro SD card and inserted. So all we need to do is we just need to click the first one, ready to sign. And our Coldcard is smart enough to understand what's going on here. It notices what we're trying to do. It understands that it's a signer in the multisig. So we're just going to go ahead and press OK to approve the transaction. And now the transaction has been signed twice. Once with the software wallet that we just did, and now with the Coldcard. So the last step is to just broadcast this transaction. So let's go ahead and move this back into the computer. Let's mount it. And then finally, we're going to load it back in. And that's going to be, which one? I think it's going to be the final test with software 2. Yeah, it's going to be the final. So I'm going to go ahead and click this guy. And you'll notice that that Sparrow identified that it has been signed by the Coldcard. Now we can go ahead and just broadcast the transaction, and the network will accept it. You see, we already got one confirmation with the earlier test, and now we have this one. So that's it. That's how you do it. That's a 2 of 3 multisig using 2 software wallets and 1 hardware wallet. I do know this stuff can be very intimidating. If you do need some one-on-one help, please do book some time with me on my website, or you can just leave comments or email me directly at andrew@dprogram.me. I try to get back to everyone. I try to unblock everyone to get them going. If you do find yourself needing a little bit more guidance, please don't hesitate to reach out and book some time with me, because I want to see a hyper Bitcoinized world. So Thank you everybody for nearly 500 subscribers. I'm sure we're going to hit that in the next couple weeks. So sincerely, thank you. Keep calm, stack sats, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.